Food is one thing that brings us all together. It bridges cultures and generations. Through this video, we hope to show how you can help all students, even those with disabilities, to have a relaxing and enjoyable mealtime experience. First things first, you should always start with washing your hands. The CDC recommends that you wash your hands between 15 to 20 seconds with warm, soapy water. That's equivalent to singing happy birthday to yourself twice. Afterwards, make sure you dry your hands with a clean towel. Proper positioning is very important during mealtime. You never want your students slunched over like John here. Instead, keep your student as upright and symmetrical as possible. Here are some things to think about when setting up the mealtime environment. First of all, make sure the lighting is just right. It shouldn't be too dark or too bright. The room temperature should be comfortable, not too hot, not too cold. Think Goldilocks. Any possible distractions should be removed. The focus should be on the meal, not everything else. Students should eat with their peers, just like everybody else. You should always sit in front of or next to the student during mealtime. If in front, you should sit at or below their eye level. While it may seem tempting to put a bib on a messy student, here are some tips. For this student, it is very appropriate for her to be wearing a bib. However, for this student, it is not appropriate for him to be wearing a bib, especially at his age, unless he's eating lobster or wearing bib overalls. But I think you get the point. Always present the food at midline.
All right, John, we got some good applesauce here for you. Cool. Here you go.
That is good applesauce.
Did I mention to always present the food at midline?
All right, John, we got some applesauce here for you. Could you lean your head back and I'll drop it in?
Ugh.
There's a reason why the bird feeding technique doesn't work. There are some reflexes you might encounter during feeding, like the tonic bite, where the student's jaw clenches shut if something brushes against their teeth. The rooting reflex is where something touches the side of the student's face and they turn their face that direction. One way to avoid these reflexes is to always present the food at midline and don't touch any other part of their face. Sometimes we need to use certain techniques to help to promote jaw closure in our students. Watch as Steve uses a couple of these techniques on John to help him close his jaw during mealtime. Here are some strategies for activating and promoting chewing. For example, here Steve is pressing on John's tongue through his jaw to help promote chewing. Here, Steve is using a couple of massage techniques to help and relax John's face, which will promote chewing. Here are a few other things to consider when working with students. Don't rush. This is supposed to be a relaxing time. You don't like being rushed when you're eating, right? Allow for socialization time with peers. This is supposed to be a fun, relaxing, and social experience. When working on new skills, choose foods the student prefers, not just whatever's lying around. Be sure to teach when the student is hungry. We're promoting meal times, not whenever you want to teach times. And make sure the temperature of the food is appropriate. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Okay, let's review. First things first, always start with washing your hands. Next, positioning is key. Make sure the student is upright and in midline. Always sit in front of or next to the student. Always present the food at midline. And don't forget the techniques we talked about to promote jaw closure and chewing. When in doubt, always use the Goldilocks test. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. And don't forget, if you ever have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. This should be a positive learning experience for both you and the student.